So we've all seen cars on the road at a traffic light, and when they hit the gas, the car tilts backwards as it takes off. But why is that? Why do we get that backwards tilt? Also, when you see a car coming to slow down, applying the brakes, it's tilting forward. So, apart from the forces that we feel when we get pushed back into our seat on acceleration and when we get pulled forward when we press the brakes, we get this tilting motion. Hey, I'm Iman, and let's figure it out. So, you might think you know one of the reasons why this might happen. You might think of torque, you might think of inertia, but there are a couple of reasons why we get this tilting motion happening. And today we want to kind of dissect it a little bit and look at what's happening and actually visualize the relatively simple effects, but that way it can start making a little bit more sense in our minds. So when we have a vehicle that's moving on the ground, what is it that makes that vehicle move? So you have a wheeled vehicle. What is it that allows that vehicle to actually move? And it is the interaction of the wheels with the ground. So there's friction between the wheels and the ground, and that interaction means that when the wheel rotates, we can actually get the vehicle moving in one direction. So I've got a little model that I've made up here, and it consists of a drill and a wheel that's attached to this drill through an axle. So it can't spin freely, the drill has to move. And we're going to be exploring first this idea of torque. So torque is rotational force. So instead of just pushing something and getting it to move, we're going to rotate something, and that's going to give us the movement. So torque is pretty intuitive to most people. We've all used a screwdriver on a really hard screw, tried to turn something. We know that when we twist something, that something twists back, and we can feel that force coming back to us. So here I have my drill and my wheel. Now, we all know what happens when I just spin it, the wheel tries to turn. But we all know that if we're drilling into something and it grabs, the drill will rotate around. We've all felt that while drilling something and it catches, the drill rotates. Now, it's this same idea that is one of the reasons why the car tilts on acceleration. So I'm going to pop this down here, and I want you to visualize that here is the back wheel, and here is the body of the car. The front wheel will be somewhere like this. So this is the motion, and this is how the car would be able to move normally. Now, on a hard acceleration, I want you to watch what happens to this drill body. So I'm going to push down now to get a bit of force, and there we go. The drill is pulling up. I can really exaggerate that by trying to hold the wheel and pressing. You can see the drill just wants to lift up. So this is the body of the car that's trying to lift as the wheel is pushing on the ground. So the wheel is rotating this way, and it's pushing down and back on the ground. But that torque is felt back through the drive, the engine, the motor, whatever it may be. So as the motor is trying to turn the wheel, the motor itself feels that reaction force back. And as Newton told us, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So that's the first reason that we get that tilt. Another reason has to do with something called the center of mass. So we can imagine a car on a road, and the wheels are here. So the center of mass is the point at which we can imagine all the mass exists. If we were to average out all the mass and its distance from that point, that would be the center of mass. On a vehicle, the wheels are down at the bottom of the road. But the center of mass is not there. The center of mass is somewhere around here, towards the middle. So we can imagine it like this cup of water. The center of mass of this cup of water is somewhere in the middle, and that's where I can hold it from, okay? So hold it from the center of mass, and it's nice and balanced. Now, if I push it from the center of mass, I will just get motion. Push it back, I will get motion if I push it from the center of mass. But if I push it from below the center of mass, watch, it's going to tilt. And if I push it from above the center of mass, it's going to tilt in the other way. The same thing is happening when a vehicle is accelerating. The wheels are touching the ground, and that is the point that you're applying the force, not at the center of mass. So when you apply that force from the bottom, the vehicle wants to tilt about its center of mass. And again, you get that upwards motion. Now, those are the two main reasons that we get that tilt. And the interesting thing is, it follows that the same happens in reverse. Well, firstly, in reverse. So if we were to put the vehicle into reverse and accelerate, it would move down. The opposite thing will happen, and we do see that happening. Also, when we apply the brakes. So when we apply the brakes, all of these things are happening in the opposite direction now. The force is happening from the other direction, and we get a tilt down of the vehicle. Same thing that's happening like in our drill experiment, but instead of the drill moving forward, it's moving backwards. And it's actually the brake discs that are applying that force. They are the motor in this case. And so it rotates in the other direction. And so the car or vehicle moves down as the braking happens. So if you had, say, a rocket car where you were putting the force straight from back here, then the car wouldn't tilt up or down, it would just go forwards, or whatever the direction the rocket is pointing back at. We would still get that push back and push forward because there's still an action-reaction, but there would be no tilting. It's really because of that torque and of that center of mass that we get that rotation. So I hope that cleared up why we get the tilting action. Of course, this is really exasperated in much more powerful vehicles, which there's a lot more torque. Dragsters can really pull up completely as they throttle away because there's a huge amount of torque operating through those wheels. And of course, those wheels are a lot bigger as well. So, hope that cleared it up. Just a little thing that you'll notice now on the roads when you see cars accelerating or braking. If you found that helpful, please like and subscribe. That really helps. And remember, dream big and make it happen.